So, Peyton, you know this about me, and I think we've talked about this on here maybe before, but in case you don't know, I really like Rubik's Cubes.
Yes.
I have a collection. I know how to do them. It's something that I enjoy doing, and I still do pretty often. And I learned well over a decade ago at this point, and I was taught. One of my friends taught me how to do it. He had one, and I thought, oh, that's cool. He said, do you want to know how? And then he taught me how to do it. And it was super fun. And for some reason, I latched onto it and just thought it was a very interesting thing to do, and I got better and I got better. And I thought I was pretty good at it. I feel like I'm okay at it still. My average to solve a normal 3x3 Rubik's Cube is like somewhere in the 35-second range.
Man, I know that there's so many faster times than
Right.
that, but it's still super impressive. I've never solved one.
That's the thing. It sounds so, I feel like good about it. And I've met very few people in real life who can solve it faster than me. But there's a person in China who, his name's Yiheng Wang. He's 11 years old. And he is the current world record holder. He's breaking world record after world record. He's the number 1 rated Rubik's Cube solver in the world. He is incredible. And like I said, he's 11 years old. If you watch videos of him when he first came onto the scene and started breaking records, he looks like a little baby child. It's one of the craziest things. It seriously seems impossible. But he just broke the world record not long ago, and he currently holds the Rubik's Cube 3x3 single world record of 3.08 seconds. I know. 3.08 seconds. And that's where I think 35 seconds and I feel good, right? And I realize, I understand and I've seen and I know that there are people that are much better than 35 seconds. But I just wanted to say all this. I wanted you to hear it. I just wanted to give you a PSA. Sometimes I like to give those. Public service announcement for you today. Humility is important. If you think you're pretty good at something, don't get a big head, because there's almost certainly an 11-year-old who will destroy you at it.
Welcome to the Factoid Podcast. You didn't ask for it, but we're going to tell you about it anyways. My name is Peyton Gessel.
And I'm Chris Humphreys.
Chris, in the past few years, I've done my best to get outside when the weather is nice. I feel like you're a relatively outdoor person, right? Like you wouldn't say I'm a mountain man, but
right. I'm not a super hiker, camper, outdoorsy all the time, but I spend as much time as I can outside. We like to walk, and I mow the yard, and we do outdoor things for sure.
And one area that I kind of struggle with is I don't know a lot of people who do like the want to be outdoors a lot, who also like video games. Mm-hmm. I feel like it is usually you lean strongly into one or the other kind of camp.
Because you got to have time for both, and you just choose one to spend your time on, generally.
Yes, unless you're like me, and I try to find video games that are meant to be played outside. There's not very many of them. But what do I mean by that? I'm talking about a solar-powered video game. There's a video game called Boktai, The Sun is in Your Hands. And this came out on the Game Boy Advance in 2003. And this was a pet project of the famous developer Hideo Kojima. So he's known for games like the Metal Gear Solid franchise. Death Stranding has been more popular in recent years. So he makes very big budget games now. And about 20 years ago, he would occasionally get some money just to try something really weird. And he's known for incorporating just weird gameplay elements or theoretical ones that don't even make it into games. He just wants to try everything, and Boktai was no exception for this. Inside every cartridge is an ultraviolet light sensor. So you play as a vampire hunter who has a solar-powered gun, and the gun's power and the reload speed are tied to how much sunlight is hitting the sensor in your cartridge at any point in time. And because of this, the game is very hard to play indoors and in the dark. You can kind of spoof it with certain types of lights. Yeah. But like in general, like you'd have to be putting your Game Boy right next to the lamp. Right. And so like it effectively encourages you to go outside and play your game.
That's cool.
Unless you want like a really not fun hard mode, and then you do it inside. Like I tried playing it once at night and just immediately realized like, no, this is not for me. I'm going to wait till tomorrow morning. So I bought this a few years ago, and my time with Boktai led to what I would consider to be one of the coolest video game experiences that I've ever had. I was playing it on a Saturday morning, and I decided that I wanted to go to a nearby park and play it in the morning while Amy was sleeping. So I set up my lawn chair on top of this little like mound hill at the park, because I got to get as close to the sun as I can. I can't have any trees or anything getting in my way. So I get to this tough boss fight against a vampire. And on a scale of 1 to 10 that your meter of your light sensor is on, I'm at about a 5, which was overall pretty well. I think I've never got it above a 7, honestly. I think the sensor does kind of go bad over the years, is what I've been told. So I'm at a 5 out of 10, and I'm doing pretty well. But then a cloud comes by, not in the game, but in real life. A cloud comes by, and it knocks my bar down to 2. So now I'm not able to use the gun very well, and I just start getting my butt kicked by this vampire. And I'm in like damage control mode. I'm trying to make sure I don't die until the cloud goes past, the sun comes back out, my meter shoots back up, and I am able to destroy the vampire at the last minute before I die. And this is like a 20-year-old video game that I would say, other than this game mechanic, is kind of average. It's not the best game ever. But I think the thing that made it so cool to me is how immersive it was in that moment, that a real-world object was having effects on this virtual game that I was having, and that it was ultimately the sun is the reason why I was able to win that boss fight. And while the sun makes Boktai a lot more fun to play, the sun does not always have a positive effect on computers. So no matter how hard technology tries to obscure this, every bit of data that's encoded in a computer is in binary. It's all zeros and ones when you get under the hood and break it down. So like I can type text in a text editor, and in the back end, it is a bunch of zeros and ones that get shown to me as whatever word that I just typed or whatever. And, since these devices are electronic, disturbances in electricity can have negative effects on the devices. So I imagine have you ever worn socks near a computer and you had like static electricity?
Sure.
I sometimes do this with my PC, and I'll touch something on my desk and I have socks on, and I will shock something on my desk, and then my computer will just turn on from sleep. And then it will just start booting up and going. And it's not harmful, obviously. Like, it essentially just makes my computer think that the wake button was pressed.
Sure.
So not a big deal. But it just shows how little electricity it takes to kind of screw with some things and from an outside source and cause problems. But what most computers don't insulate from is ionizing radiation from the sun. And while the chances of this are so extremely low, when it does happen, they can have crazy results. So today, I wanted to tell you about another solar-powered event that also happened in 2003 that changed the results of a Belgian election. I think most people hear the word radiation and they think about like nuclear warfare or, Fallout is popular again.
Yes.
So people think of radiation and they think I'm growing a third arm because I was exposed to some weird thing, or I'm turning into a ghoul, something, nuclear essentially. But there are so many types of radiation around us that are much less scary and much more common. So I'm going to simplify this as much as I can. But one way to break down types of radiation is into ionizing and non-ionizing radiation. And ionizing radiation is from electromagnetic waves that can cause molecules to drop their electrons. So this would be things like an X-ray, gamma rays, and some of the most strong forms of ultraviolet light. And these are the things that can cause cell damage and cancer, and are the ones that you should be kind of worried about, honestly, of being exposed to too much of.
Right.
And then non-ionizing radiation would be things like the visible light that we see, infrared, microwaves, and radio waves. And these can have their own quirks and can definitely cause other problems and stuff, but they're not causing cell damage. They're not going to give you cancer. And I was thinking back on it this week, and I've run into a lot of people in my life who do not understand this. Do you ever have like anyone that you knew in life that was scared about like some device that was going to like mess up their body?
Yeah, for sure.
I had two that kind of came to mind for me. One of them was about 20 years ago. My dad's coworker would always hold his cell phone about 6 inches away from his face. He would put it on speakerphone to the side, and then he would yell at it. So anytime you ever had to call Jim for something, you would just hear, like, you could tell this guy is yelling into his phone.
That's
and then
funny.
eventually you ask, like, well, why are you doing this? And he said, like, he's worried about, like, the radiation from the cell phone. And it turns out that eating banana actually will expose you to more ionizing radiation than any amount of cell phones. But yeah, because they are in that kind of radio wave sort of band, not a problem at all. And then one time about 10 years ago, I was at a friend's house and we were eating tacos. And I wanted to take the shredded cheese that she had out for the tacos and I wanted to melt it. So I said, hey, can where's your microwave at? I want to just like zap this taco quickly. And she kind of looks at me awkwardly and says, I don't have a microwave because I feel like the waves, it kind of like weirds me out and I'm kind of worried about what it might do. Also, once again, non-ionizing radiation, not going to actually do anything.
I feel like I've heard a lot of people tell me, oh, the microwave's going to kill you or whatever. And it's like, I don't know.
I think we would have had more cases of microwaves killing us by this point.
I think so too, probably.
Or like that guy with the chocolate bar that like discovered all that stuff back in like one of the world wars. Like I'm sure he would have had more damage to him. Did you hear about that?
I don't know.
I could be wrong, but I think the guy that helped eventually pioneer modern microwaves was like a radio guy in some sort of war, maybe World War I or World War II. And I think he had like a chocolate bar ration in his pocket and it was melting his chocolate bar, receiving the signals. And then he thought, oh, let's find a way to like do this differently.
Harness that, yeah.
Yes. But anyways, enough talking about ionizing radiation's effects on the human body. Now I want to talk about its effect on governing bodies. Because for reasons unknown to me, I get a lot of enjoyment out of learning about Belgian politics. In the past few years, I've seen many people online ask questions and make videos that say things like, why does Belgium exist? Or should Belgium still exist? Like, imagine the outrage if people talked about America like that.
Right.
Should we exist? Like, yeah, people would be up in arms about that. So it's crazy that someone is able to make a 20-minute video and say that maybe your country shouldn't exist. In a lot of ways, Belgium was formed as a way just to make it harder for France to take over Europe after the Napoleonic Wars. They became a nation in the early 1800s, not long after those wars. And the thought was that by sticking another country in the way of France, it's now one more roadblock towards domination, basically. You have to invade one more country along the way to get to everyone else. One other possible resistance force, things like that. But Belgium is currently culturally split in half. The Flemish people live in the north, and they speak Dutch, and they originally came from the Netherlands. They split off from the Netherlands. And in the south, you have the Walloon people, and they live in the south, and they speak French. And the city of Brussels is their capital, and it's pretty much in the middle, and that one is mostly French, but with a little bit of Dutch. And there's a very tiny minority that speaks German, but we're not going to worry about them. They don't really make a big difference here today. The current prime minister of Belgium, Bart de Wever, has previously suggested that maybe we should just split into two countries. Maybe we'd like it better, actually. And in some ways, they're already split in half by the Roman Empire. There was a Roman road that ran through what is now Belgium. And if you overlay the route of that road with the current French-Dutch north-south split, it is almost the exact same.
Wow.
So in some ways, they are like literally split in half in a lot of ways with the regions of Flanders and Wallonia. And all of these things have led to what some people call the least functional government in the world. The Flemish and the Walloons, they don't really like each other. They don't really want to speak each other's languages and can't do it very well. They don't have that historical shared history, but they kind of just have to get along together. So everything just gets split in two. You like for TV, you have a French language broadcaster that's run by the country, and then you also have a Dutch version of that runs its own programming as well. You also have a French version of every political party on the spectrum, and then you have a Dutch version of every single political party, unaffiliated with the French one, but covers all the different parts of the political spectrum. And in order for a parliament to start a new session and form a government that's allowed to pass laws and stuff, the winning party basically has to band together with other minority parties to make a 51% majority. So like when you have 25 different parties, like no one gets 50%.
Right.
So it's like the one that gets 27% has to add in with the other ones. And eventually we say, well, this group of parties in our parliament equal 51%, and now we are the ruling party, and then the minority is now called the opposition. So a lot of countries that have like a parliament, like the UK does a very similar thing to this. But Belgium is so fractured that they couldn't get everyone to agree to ever get to above 50%. So from October 2018 to December 2020, they set the record for 652 days without a functioning government.
Wow.
So I'm giving you all of this background to say that when Belgium holds a congressional election, instead of having two main political parties getting all the seats and maybe one independent getting in like we're used to seeing, the 2003 election in Belgium had 10 different parties claiming seats and over 40 parties getting some amount of votes. So it's much easier to identify when someone receives a suspiciously high number of votes. Maria Vindevogel worked for a Belgian national airline, and she lost her job when the company went bankrupt. And during this whole process, she was a labor union representative, and she was calling out that the airline didn't handle the terms of their labor agreement correctly. Basically, they laid her off, but they said they were going to do things for her, and they didn't do them. And since she represented a few dozen people who also had that, they're trying to get the benefits that they were told that they were supposed to get. Like, pretty reasonable. And then the government, since they owned the airline that went bankrupt, the government says, yeah, you were right, we were wrong, but also the things that the airline promised you, we can't fulfill. So you're right, but you don't actually get any of the benefits that you're trying to get. So she's understandably pretty mad about this and decides to start her own political party and run for parliament to like root out the corruption that's been causing problems here. And she names it, in English, it is the Movement for Action, Resistance, and an Independent Alternative, which in Dutch spells out her name, Maria. Which is a pretty good power move. I was trying to think ahead of time about like, can I spell the name of a political party like the People Against Youth? Like, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, Chris, the Center, no, the Citizens.
Right. There's a good one in there somewhere.
Yes,
for
absolutely.
Sure.
Please let us know if you have acronyms for us.
Right.
Yeah. But as the votes are being tallied on election day, the officials noticed that Maria, the person and the party, received more votes than there were registered members of her party. And they start to investigate this and discovered that the 13th bit of the location in RAM on the computer tallying votes was hit with ionizing radiation from the sun, and it flipped the bit from 0 to 1. And apparently RAM is the most vulnerable computer component when it comes to ionizing radiation because the transistors are so small that a small particle can do more damage and hit. Basically, it's easier to mess up than if it was like a very big device with big transistors in them for some reason. So since these are smaller, they're more susceptible to damage. And RAM also doesn't have the level of redundancies that, say, maybe a hard drive would have. Because since RAM is meant to just be a temporary thing, there is less, especially in 2003, there's less like software and hardware that is able to help correct this sort of thing. So it ends up essentially being flipped. The best way to describe this is that when you have what we call a single event upset of when that bit flipped from the 0 to 1, there are 3 possible outcomes when you change the RAM. The first one is if that bit of RAM is not being used. Nothing happens and you don't even know anything went on. So not a big deal. And then if the bit was super important and it flips and it could disrupt the operation code, everything crashes, you just come to a complete halt. But the third one, and this is what happened, is if the bit is just a random value of a random thing, and you don't have any sort of memory management running, your computer just says, I don't know, we'll just see if we can make it work. And that's how Maria got 4,096 extra votes in this election. And what's funny is I was trying to understand how this worked, and it is very similar to a glitch that I was exploiting as a 7-year-old in my Pokemon games. Do you know about the famous missing no glitch that people would do? It was a way to catch like a glitch Pokemon in Red and Blue. They fixed it for the most part by the time they made the yellow version. But basically, your character's name for a brief moment in time has to get stored in RAM because they have to change your name for a tutorial and then they change it back. So because your name gets stored in RAM, and eventually you have to move to a certain part of the map that doesn't have data on it, you get into a Pokemon battle and it doesn't have any data about what's supposed to appear, and it reads the data from your RAM, which is currently your name, And it says, I don't know, maybe let's make a Pokemon out of it. And it just garbles pixels together and gives you like a bunch of glitches. And there's ways to like exploit this for
That's interesting.
like infinite items and things like that. So it is the missing no glitch is the exact same thing as what happened in this Belgian election, other than the sun. I guess the sun didn't hit it, but the idea of RAM. So when that 13-bit flipped, it was that third type of bit. And like we said, 4,096 votes go to Maria. And that is exactly 2 to the 12th power, which correlates with the 13th.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Maria, though, this only took her from about 0.5% of the vote to the precinct to 1% of the vote in the precinct. So it did not change the outcome of the election. She would not have been elected anyways. But don't worry, Maria did eventually get elected to the House of Representatives of their parliament about 15 years later, under a different party that was not named after her. And I know I mentioned earlier that these bit flips or single event upsets, as they're also called, they're pretty rare overall. There have been a few more documented cases of them. Airplanes are exposed to a lot more radiation just because they're so high up in the sky. Right. The atmosphere is thinner, and they're just closer to the sun.
Yeah,
and
more
sun.
sun.
Exactly. So it makes sense. And in 2007, Qantas flight number 72 took a nosedive and injured several passengers aboard. And after checking everything out, they blamed it on the sun. And last October, there was a JetBlue flight that did almost the exact same thing. It loses a bunch of altitude really quickly. Passengers are injured. No one dies, thankfully. But they go and they have experts look at all of this stuff. And they say, like, yeah, we just think it's the sun, which is not a satisfying answer because you can't see the sun.
Right.
And I find it very suspicious, though, that these planes are typically the culprit of bit flips. But Maria Vindevogel is one of the only people who has ever benefited from a bit flip.
Yeah.
Maybe the 2003 Belgian election was just the sun's way of saying, you know, of giving that divine retribution on the Belgian airline for not honoring the terms for their original union agreement. And now every few years, the sun just reminds airplanes of who's boss or here. And, you know, when did Boktai come out? The solar-powered video game? Also 2003. And I do think this is how people get into conspiracy theories and cults, because it was really fun of me just, like, connecting all the dots of this, where I'm like, planes, and there's more planes in the sun, and 2003. So I do need to just stop before I'm ahead, before I start my own sun cult. But there was one more bit flip that I did want to talk about that I guess kind of has some sun-related things in it too, turns out. There was a Super Mario 64 speedrun in 2013 where Mario, in the middle of the speedrun, just gets teleported way up high in the level. There's like a platforming section that's very vertical, and he just skips like 15 to 20 seconds or so of time. And there's video footage of this happening. It was really hard to try to explain what it was, and a lot of people think that this was the sun. And if it wasn't the sun, people want to know what to do, because if it's a repeatable glitch,
right,
that's enough to take you to the top of the leaderboards on the speedrun. So people are looking into it, they can't confirm, and they're leaning towards it's probably a single event upset, and it could be the sun. It could also be because the console's falling apart, it's old, there's a million things.
Right.
But like, there's no way to prove it, though. So there theoretically could have been ionizing radiation from a different source, but we will never know. And the unsatisfying answer is that maybe it was just the sun. And that leads me to the sad conclusion that maybe none of the bit flips that I've talked about were even caused by the sun. There's a chance that none of them actually were. And diagnosing tech problems, if you've ever done this before, as I know you have, is honestly very similar to like your doctor trying to diagnose what's wrong with you.
Yeah, could be this, but we're not really sure, but we're going to go with this because that's probably what it is.
Right. And it's maybe less risky when it's like your computer versus like my body and my life. But like it's a similar situation of, you start with some tests, you rule this out, you rule enough things out, and you hope that something becomes obvious. But sometimes you get through that whole list of diagnosing and you say, I don't know, I guess there's kind of nothing here. Maybe it's, and it's like the sun is kind of that last answer. So the other bad news that I have to share, though, is that if the single event upsets and bit flips are truly happening because of the sun, it's probably only going to get worse from here, and we're probably going to have more of them, unfortunately. So like with the transistors in RAM being very small, in general, all of our technology is getting smaller and smaller. So the smaller they get, the more heavily impacted they are by tiny amounts of ionizing radiation than if they were larger. Now, the good news, though, is that we can create software and hardware that does sort of work for this to help counteract it. So from a hardware perspective, you can get like shielding stuff that you can put, like the military does this a lot. Anyone who works near like nuclear facilities, they have ways to shield the electronics to prevent this sort of thing.
Sure.
Because like imagine running the computer in the nuclear reactor
Right.
facility. Like you got to make sure that the thing functions.
Right.
So you can get stuff that helps with this. It's just super expensive, super bulky.
Right.
And then on the software side, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but there are certain types of memory management software that can kind of look and sort of heal basically these errors that could happen. It's able to say, hey, this is what the data just was. This one random bit changed here, but I wasn't given any instructions to change.
Right.
Why did that happen? Let's fix it, isolate the problem, and kind of solve it. So I don't want to be all doom and gloom. There are some ways that we may be able to change this from happening in the future. But they probably will happen, and we just have to hope that they won't affect our daily lives, basically.
Right.
So this winter has been very rough on me, and I attribute a good chunk of that to not getting enough sun.
Sure.
Like Amy and I will actually sometimes we have an air mattress, and we will blow it up, and we will stick it in our kitchen because our kitchen has the best sun.
Yeah.
And we will just sit in the sun in the winter in the afternoon and just let the sun hit us. And it's not the most scientific, but I just feel better.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm in the
agree.
sun, I'm just laying there. And the more technologically advanced that our society gets, the more I realize how much joy I feel like simple things like just laying in the sun can give me. So now, if only Hideo Kojima could just release one more Boktai game, he hasn't put one out in 20 years, I will be able to fully take advantage of the sun next summer.
You know what I think one of the most beautiful things to see in our life is?
What? Sunsets?
Close. In my mind, it's a rainbow.
Okay, yeah.
And let me explain why. I understand that like that might be a silly thing to say, but like it's always been something to me that's like so special. And I don't know why, because it's not that rare of an occurrence. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough that probably everyone you know has a memory of seeing a rainbow.
Yes.
At least one time.
Every time my mother-in-law sees a rainbow, Amy gets a text because she was a rainbow baby because there were some miscarriages before Amy was born. So Amy gets a lot of pictures of rainbows. So pretty much every time I know that my mother-in-law sees a rainbow, we know about it, and
That's the thing.
So I'm reminded a lot of times about rainbows.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think what's cool about it is not rare, but it's also rare enough that like it's still exciting to see one. You know what I'm saying?
Last time in person, like I don't know, at least a year.
Yeah, that's the thing. You see one. I think generally, like in my brain as I was thinking about this, I think I see one every year, but also like it's rare because it only happens for a period of time. You know what I mean? By the nature of what it is, by how the sun has to reflect at a certain angle through all this stuff, like it happens, but it happens only for a certain amount of time. So if you happen to be inside or not in the right area at that time, you just miss it. You don't get to see it anymore.
Right.
Have you ever seen a double rainbow?
Yes.
I feel like, again, it's one of those things where it's even more rare. Still not rare because it happens often, but like everyone I know, for the most part, has an experience where they've seen a double rainbow at least once. And it's always that thing where one's really bright and one's not quite as bright, but you can see both of them, right? And I don't know about you, but I've often taken a picture of a rainbow when I see it, or tried to take a picture.
Yes.
But just like all beautiful things of the earth and landscape and beautiful outdoorsy things, when you take a picture of it, it just doesn't quite do justice to what you're seeing in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
When we lived in the mountains, I would always take pictures with my phone. I'd be like, wow, this is a beautiful sunny day. This is the most beautiful panoramic view I've ever seen of mountains. And I take a picture, and I look at those pictures now and think, I don't know, it's kind of cool.
Yes.
But you know what I mean? It just doesn't do justice to what you're actually seeing.
Unless it's the Northern Lights, and I think everyone who's taken a picture of those knows that, it's actually better in the picture.
Exactly, right? That's the thing, because you can't even really see it sometimes when you're not taking a picture. Speaking of that, were you able to see the eclipse a few years ago?
Yes.
You were, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's one of those things, too, where I'd never seen a total eclipse before. And in our area, it was like totality for X amount of minutes or whatever, right? And so I wasn't super excited. I'd seen partial ones, and it's whatever, and it's cool, right? The phenomenon, whatever you want to call it, the idea of what's happening is interesting. The fact that the light changes, all that, it's very interesting. But that moment when the moon went in front of the sun or whatever, like it was like, I honestly, it was like one of the most spectacular things I've ever seen.
Like emotional.
Yeah,
yes.
like it.
Yeah.
I know that sounds cheesy, but I'm telling you, if you ever get the chance to see a total eclipse, like you have got to go drive however far you have to go to see it in totality, because it was for some reason emotional. But I say that because like I tried when it happened for a moment to take a picture of it, and you can't, because it's like the sun, it's just crazy. You probably understand more than I do with like how photographs work, but like it doesn't work. You can't take a picture, and even if you could, it's not the same thing. Like what you're seeing and experiencing is like, it was so crazy.
Absolutely.
It cannot be captured in a picture. I say all that to say, you can't take a photo that really matters of a solar eclipse. You can't take a photo that really does the justice of a rainbow. But you can, however, get a video of a rainbow that's great. And a man named Paul Vasquez, nickname Bear, posted a video in 2010. You might have seen a video or some form of it in meme form that went incredibly viral of a double rainbow.
I was thinking about that. Yeah.
It's currently has over 50 million views, but it's just kind of this fun guy, and he lives like near Yosemite in California, and he sees a double rainbow, and it's just him like reacting to it. And this dude, like, I think what makes this video so interesting is he's just like happy about it. Like he kind of goes from being like excited and laughing to like being happy and joyful to like tearing up. Like he just loved it. Like it's a very cool video. It's made its way really through the internet in a lot of ways and through a lot of years. But it's a great video. But when you start learning about Paul, you learn that Paul loves beauty. He loved living among the beauty, so much so that he lived in California, but he decided to settle in right around Yosemite. He grew up in California, but he settled and decided to move in the mid-'80s to a town called Mariposa, which is just near like a few minutes from Yosemite. And he had a farm. He ran that farm with the help of those around him. Like he decided to kind of just live, like make this the outdoorsy, homesteady kind of life, right? And this is a little bit before, like it's kind of a trendy thing to do that now.
Oh yeah.
It was less of a thing in the 80s.
I was going to say that,
right?
Yeah.
He was just kind of I don't want to say the word hippie, but just a guy who one with the earth, emotional, happy, joy, experiencing life kind of guy. Paul was this guy. And in this video, you can kind of hear that emotion. This wasn't the first video he'd ever posted, which is interesting because this was in 2010 that video came out.
Yeah.
And I've watched YouTube a long time. I didn't start watching YouTube until a little after 2010, maybe the late 2010s, 2011 in that area time. So anybody before that, like it's really early on, right?
Yes.
And he had been posting vlogs, and he was really quite an OG vlogger. He was around vlogging years before Casey Neistat even had a YouTube channel. And Casey Neistat's like the king of the vlog, right? He was,
right.
And he's been around a long time, but he didn't even have a YouTube channel when Paul started.
Yeah, my best performing video on YouTube is from 2009.
Really?
Actually, yes. When I was in high school, I was downloading some translation patches for Nintendo DS games that did not come out in the US.
Okay.
So people would have English translation patches, and I noticed that no one had any videos of gameplay of this game that was out in Japan. So I grabbed my dad's digital camera that had some basic video on it, and I turned all the lights off in my room so it was dark so I could record the DS's screens, but it's late at night, so I'm not talking very loud. And I got like 20,000 views in this video.
Wow.
People are like leaving comments and saying like, dude, you sound like you're drunk.
That's funny.
But it's because like I have a deep voice and I'm talking quietly and slowly in my bedroom at night.
That's funny.
But yeah, so I have since pulled that video. It is unlisted now.
That's too bad.
But I mean, it is. I could send you an unlisted link. I
would like to. I would like to see it.
Yes, I just don't exactly want that to be the first thing that shows up on my profile.
Right, being a video guy now, you might not want that to be number one video.
Yes.
I can understand that.
But that is the kind of video that you post in 2009
That's
on
the
YouTube.
thing. You weren't used to seeing, like I said, like if any of you watch Casey Neistat, I still watch his videos. He still posts. He's known for like vlogging, but like super high production value and like the quality's super good and like really creative and like storyline. It's very cool, right? Yeah. That's not what Paul did. That's not what you did on YouTube in 2010 and before. It was very different, right? But he was the kind of guy who would just get on and make videos about interactions he had with people. He made a video about just like whatever, right? There's lots of videos on his channel of just like a sunset for 12 seconds or whatever, right? Like it's literally just he posted videos all the time. He posts some and still posts videos all the time.
That's so wholesome.
I know, it's so wholesome, and he seems like such a great guy. He just had a desire to not miss a moment and a desire to share that with everyone around him. And there are a lot of things about this guy that I really, really love. Another is just his drive to create and to maintain this creative outlet that he has, right? He's getting something out of this himself. He's sharing what he cares about with other people, and that's something that I think is important. And you and I, we've talked about this a lot, right? People who have some form of creativity in their brain or in their body, like there's got to be a way to get that out. And how do you do that? I don't really know, but we've had a lot of conversations about this podcast, and we talked about it for like probably years before we did it, where it was like, will this continue to be fun if it's something that we have to do, right?
Yep.
And I think we ultimately came to like this decision of, I think we'll still be able to do it. We're still going to be talking about this stuff anyway. This is going to make us spend more time together and talk about more things, but also just like do it in a way that maybe we wouldn't have done it before. We're going to get to spend our time together. And also we came up with a schedule that we thought we could keep up with, but not make it so much work that it's not fun anymore.
Right.
And I feel like we've done that well.
Oh yeah.
And we did it for years. Before I got sick, we did it very, very consistently. I look forward to doing that again. But I think that like something that I loved to learn about this guy is that he did it for fun. It was creative outlet, and for like so consistently for so long, it was like his routine to wake up and to make videos of the things that he cared about. Like I said, a video of an animal on his farm doing a thing, and it's a 14-second video, and there's no commentary. You know what I mean? Like it's like something that he found a lot of value in.
I have a former coworker who was very similar to that when we worked with him, where yes, he would just send us a picture in the morning of some flowers that he saw when he was on a walk in the morning, or yes, like I would not be surprised if I went back and looked through like old chats, and he probably has sent a picture of a rainbow to us.
That's the thing. It's just like it's kind of a type of person, I feel like.
Yes.
Someone who just really enjoys life. His YouTube channel still to this day is active, almost 16 years from the time that he posted that very, very viral double rainbow video. And having a channel active on YouTube isn't incredibly uncommon. While most people haven't been around as long as him, and really even the ones who have been around to still be active, that's even more rare. That's actually not what makes his channel so special. What makes this one different is that Paul actually passed away in 2020. And while he was still alive, it was his creative practice to not only upload videos in the present, but also to make and schedule videos to post in the future.
Whoa.
And that's what he did. Seemingly, apparently, the entire time that he was posting videos every day or every week or all the time consistently throughout his posting schedule, he was also creating other videos and scheduling them to upload in the future. It became his practice. And he says that he did it so that he could live on even when his body was no longer on this earth. And in many ways, he does. His YouTube channel is still active. It still has tens of thousands of subscribers. And those subscribers, every video that comes out, comment and talk in this community that he created, and they participate in this online place that wouldn't exist if Paul didn't do this before and continue doing it now, even though he's not around anymore. And from what I can tell, this wasn't just like a thing he did at the end of his life. Like I said, I think this is literally what he did because he decided the perspective that I have in life is important enough to share with people so that even if I'm not around anymore, I still want them to see it.
That's beautiful.
His death seemed somewhat unexpected, even for him. Like, I don't think it was like he'd been sick for a long time and was dying. I think that he just passed away. It was COVID time. It was like 2020. I don't really know. Like, it's not public knowledge of why he died or whatever, but he passed away. But it seems that Paul lived his life this way all the time. And it's kind of crazy, but I honestly kind of love it. We can make a difference. Even when we're just one person among many, we can make a difference, and what we say actually does matter. Kind of made me reflect on myself and wonder, is what I care about, is what I do, is what I share worth living beyond me? And if it is, which I hope it is, what can I do to make that last? All I can really say in light of everything that I know about Mountain Bear, or Yosemite Bear, the double rainbow video guy, is this. Paul, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Factoid Podcast. If you have a factoid that you want to share with us, send us an email at whatsyours@factoidpodcast.com.
You can find us everywhere you get your podcasts, on all the platforms, or on our website, factoidpodcast.com.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.